An Alaskan pioneer named Kitty Hensley has baffled treasure hunters with this incomprehensible document. Could this be a map leading to a treasure?
Knowing the type of personality she was, it would make sense.
Join me, Joanna Skye, as I track down Fairbanks, Alaska's most elusive treasure on the next Lost Legends of the West. In the late 1800s, there was a woman named Kitty Hensley who would make a huge impact on the community in Fairbanks, Alaska. She lived as a pioneer in the Wild West, but at the end of her life, her mind started to fade with old age. Kitty Hensley left a very unique legacy that would keep her on the mind of the Fairbanks community. She left behind a treasure map that would elude deciphering for over 70 years. Historians and treasure hunters alike have been intrigued with the legend of Kitty Hensley, and all of them have been stumped with this. What does this map mean? What we do know is that this map is our first clue to a more critical and fascinating question. Who was Kitty Hensley? That answer could help us decode the map and ultimately lead us to a very well-hidden treasure. Join me, Joanna Skye, as I go up to Fairbanks, Alaska to try and get some clues to help us uncover this mystery behind the map and to reveal the mystery behind Kitty Hensley.
Every legend has some truth. Every truth has some legend. We find the truth in the legend.
This is Kitty Hensley's document that has baffled treasure hunters for more than 50 years. Hi, I'm Joanna Skye, and this is Lost Legends of the West. I'm in Fairbanks, Alaska, Kitty's home for the last 30 years of her life. I arrived here by way of the Alaska Railroad, and where I stand now is the northernmost point for all railroads in North America. Kitty arrived here in 1904, just 2 years after gold was first discovered in Fairbanks, luring all sorts of gold seekers and turning this town into the second largest city in Alaska today. This document
is supposedly going to lead me to one of Kitty's many hidden stashes of gold. For the next half hour, we are going to become part of that magical time in Alaska where gold, violence, and legends ran wild.
Felix Pedro first discovered gold in Fairbanks in 1902. This was 4 years after the gold rush era had started in Alaska. Unlike Felix Pedro, many of the pioneers to follow have been lost to history, but not without leaving their contribution. It wasn't a mystery why Fairbanks and neighboring towns like Dawson and Nome had grown so large in population. The pioneers built these cities with dreams of discovering a fortune in gold.
Kitty Hensley was a pioneer woman from the gold rush era in Dawson, Alaska, before she settled down in Fairbanks. In Fairbanks, she's a little bit of a celebrity, if you will, although she seems completely unknown to the rest of the U.S. I'm on my way to the University of Alaska, where the history department will hopefully help me define who Kitty Hensley really was.
The University of Alaska was founded in 1922, when it opened with 6 faculty members and 6 students. I went to the university research library to see what records I could find on Kitty, and if there was any evidence on her legendary document. Now, according to the legend, Kitty was an impulsive saver and hoarder. Over a period of 20 years, some believe she stashed over $100,000 in gold somewhere here in Fairbanks. I didn't find much on Kitty Hensley in the newspaper archives. What I did find was that a daughter survived Kitty. Her name was Hazel. Okay, this map was found during a renovation project on Kitty's house after her death. Many treasure hunters speculate that this paper will lead them to her fortune. The problem is, no one understands how to decode it. In 1931, Kitty died in her sleep. Hopefully, the secret to where her treasure is hidden didn't die with her.
You know, it sounds like somebody had a fertile imagination. You know, there's this, what else is these newspapers you find at the grocery store checkouts. B-29 found on the moon. Tabloids, yeah, you know. Woman gives birth to ape, you know, or Bigfoot captured somewhere, you know. But I mean, why not?
Yeah. Could the legend of Kitty Hensley be just a tabloid myth? I didn't fly all the way out here searching for Kitty Hensley's treasure in vain, did I? I'm going to hang up some flyers to see if I can conjure up anything regarding Kitty Hensley. The more I can learn about Kitty, or even her daughter Hazel, the closer I may come to understanding this legend, or better yet, finding the treasure.
The archives provided me with some information, and Dr. Naske didn't have too much to share because very little is documented on Kitty Hensley. I need to know more. Maybe some of the townspeople have heard some rumors or stories or folklore that have been passed down by word of mouth that can lead me to a clue, or lead me to someone that can help me decipher this document, this scribble, that I think may be a map.
Somebody out there has to know something about Kitty. According to the legend, this was found behind the mantelpiece in Kitty's house after she passed away. The writing is so unique Most treasure hunters think of it as incomprehensible. I see it more as a piece of art, and if a message is hidden within it, I'm going to crack it. I'm heading back to my hotel to see if I received any response from the flyers I posted.
Pike's Waterfront Lodge, we hope, will become a landmark of Fairbanks. We have collected a lot of art and tried to become kind of like a boutique hotel. It's difficult for a small independent property to survive. So we thought to make it into a boutique property that kind of captured the essence of the turn of Alaska, you know, the gold rush era, the quaintness that, and the charm that Alaska still enjoys and that Fairbanks enjoys as a river town and a gold mining town. I've been fortunate enough to collect all the artwork. We have over 50 originals. I think only 2 of them are on loans. The rest of them we have, and they're spectacular. And again, we just tried to capture some of that mystique of Alaska. Fortunately, Alaskan art is not terribly expensive to collect, you know, like Western art or California art, that kind of thing. And so we have paintings of polar bears and fireweed and black bears and Mount McKinley's and riverboats and animals and foxes and aspens, you know, with morning summer light and wolves right after a wolf kill and some beautiful, beautiful pieces. The theory I've always had is that if you live in New York, you live there for the city. If you live in California, you live there for the weather. And if you live in Alaska, you live here for the people, because they possess a quaintness and a charm. You know, of course, we would like to think that Pike's possesses more charm and more quaintness and more warmth than the other Fairbanks hotels. Is unique, but it really is something that belongs to the whole community of Fairbanks.
I've been on and off the phone with some students from the university. Nothing's what I want. Everything I keep hearing, I already know. The good news is that I did get one lead that put me in contact with a woman named Candy Wagaman. She has a collection of over 22,000 original photographs from the early 1900s in Fairbanks, and she even has an original of Kitty Hensley.
Candy has so many photographs, she is able to categorize them by the history of Alaska. While I searched for a photo of Kitty Hensley in the Fairbanks collection, Candy told me that the house that Kitty lived in had not only been restored, but it was also moved to a local amusement park. When this house was moved to the park, the renovators supposedly uncovered a bag of gold hidden within its walls. It would almost be too good to be true to find a photograph of that event. What I finally uncovered was this. You are looking at the only known original photograph of Kitty Hensley. She's seen here in a crowd of people listening to President Harding speak.
Welcome to Alaska Land, or I should say Pioneer Park as it's called today. This is Alaska's only theme park. It has 2 rides. Most people come here to relive a little bit of Alaska's great history. This is where the Kitty Hensley house is today. It has been restored by the pioneers of Alaska and is now a gift shop. I don't want to waste any more time at the entrance. It's getting cold. I'm going straight to the house.
First, I had an interview with Donna Cryer, a member of the Pioneer Women of Alaska who has done intensive research on Kitty.
Hasn't been until later years that a group of us have gotten really interested in really wanting to know more about her. I wasn't involved with the original moving of that house, but I think it was because of its architectural, it was available. And at that time they were looking for buildings to move here to create this gold rush atmosphere.
The park itself contains many historical pastimes, including a steamboat and a square dancing hall that continues to hold weekly dances.
The Pioneer Women of Alaska, they donated money to her. She was sort of a charity case. I have read the minutes of the meetings trying to find out more about Kitty, and they occasionally gave her $2 or $2.50, and I don't know, I kind of surmised that maybe that they had her clean up after they always had a lunch afterwards. And I thought, well, maybe they made up a job for her so that they could make her feel like she was earning the money instead of just handing it to her. And people said she went home with pockets full of food, so.
Was Kitty a charity case?
You know, she broke her hip, and then, you know, they were going to do her a big favor by going and cleaning her house for her while she was disabled and in the hospital. And that's, of course, when that was part of her character, her personality. She didn't want anybody messing in her house, so she left the hospital and went home, and so she couldn't walk. And I think she blamed them from that point on. And she blamed them for helping take the daughter away too. I think it was some of those people who were behind the push to remove the daughter from her house. And a lot of people march in the door of that house and say, okay, now tell me why Kitty was so important. And she wasn't. I mean, at the time she was here, I mean, she was sort of just an eccentric person around town, like we had a few of those, so they were just sort of part of the scenery.
So this is Kitty Hensley's home. The inside has been restored by the pioneer women of Alaska to represent a house from the pioneer days. Behind these walls is where a pioneer woman found a bag of gold and the treasure map in 1967. Half of this house is constructed out of a wrecked steamboat named the Florence S. Records vary and show the owners of the boat as either Kitty or her good friend Captain Smythe. But whether she owned it or not, she must have had some stake in the Florence S, because the wood ended up as part of her home. For instance, the fireplace's mantelpiece was built by Captain Smythe. This is exactly where the map and bag of gold were found. I investigated in and out of this house for any clues that may aid me in this unique quest.
The latter part of Kitty Hensley's life is virtually undocumented. The answer to the question of whether or not her treasure can be found within these walls can be explained like this. Although I'm in Kitty's house, nothing remains here that was historically hers. There have been many refurbishings and repairs and changes to this building, and over a dozen tenants have lived here since its move before it came to Alaska land. The gold or relics that were hidden within these walls have already been discovered. The silhouette of who Kitty Hensley was no longer exists inside this house, and neither does her gold.
I think the secret to finding Kitty's gold is here in this town. You're not going to believe this, but I'm in a tiny little town in northern Michigan called Leland. Why? There's a woman here named Linda Atkinson, and she is the great-grandniece of Kitty. I spoke with her on the phone, and she has actual handwritten letters by Kitty and some photographs of Kitty that no one has ever seen. But since I just arrived and we're out of time, you will have to join me next week to see what information I can find out about Kitty Hensley's gold. I'm Joanna Skye, and this is Lost Legends of the West.
You're beautiful and you're mine. Well, the head star through. California twirl. Touch a quarter here. Scoot back, go boy. Scoot back, go girl. Scoot back, go boy. Swing that corner, girl, around and round and then out and left. come back and then promenade, you're 16. On your beautiful, sorry, I got a little bit ahead about it on that one, on that figure. Heads square through, go 4. Do a do-si-do with the outside 2. Make an ocean wave, swing through. Boys trade, turn through a thing. Left out man, come back and promenade, you're 16. On your beautiful